Veganism is an ethical stance against the oppression of animals. It is not a diet. The amount of animals being killed every year has only gone up since I've started being vegan.
If we could be kind and treat animals with equality, of course we can do that with other people. But if we keep refusing and denying the rights of innocent beings, we're going to fight with each other.
This woman, Molly Elwood, she developed this company called Elwood's Organic Dog Meat. They raise all these puppies from Labrador retrievers, pugs. They turn them into pug bacon, lab steaks, and people are really up in arms about it.
Making vegan cool is what is going to help us move forward. If there was ever a time to go vegan, it's right now.
We've got two really powerful voices in the animal rights movement today. They're fierce, they're funny, they're unapologetic, they're unafraid of speaking the truth, even if it means being arrested. Justina and Jamie, welcome to Sustainable Tea with Shreya. I'm so excited to do this, and it's so cool because I've never had two podcasters on the show before.
Oh my gosh.
I can't wait to jam. I can't wait to talk about all things veganism and animal rights.
Well, first of all, thanks for having us. We're super excited. I don't think we've been on a podcast together as like a duo. So thanks for inviting us. We're so excited.
Thank you so much. We've been watching your show, and when we connected on Instagram a few months back, I was just like, oh, somebody that gets it. And it's just an honor. And that now that you're here in New York, it was like we had to make this work somehow.
For sure.
It had to happen.
For
so
sure.
Definitely. How do you meet?
We met on National Animal Rights Day, iconically. We're both speakers. And afterwards, she came to interview me, and we were just being silly. And then we just hit it off, and that's how we
She's
met.
telling the story so short. I want to give
I'm trying to give the
I saw
snippet.
this bronzed goddess from afar, and I was like, who is that? She had like these gorgeous little waves in her hair and a hint of blonde at the time.
I looked like a ding dong because my blonde was not blonding for me anymore, but I appreciate you.
I thought it was cute. And I just saw this aura of purple around her. And I was like,
Purple?
I need to go over there and see what's going on. And I was doing these interviews at National Animal Rights Day, asking people, what are you doing here? What is National Animal Rights Day? So I go up to her and I go, what brings you to National Animal Rights Day? Actually, is that what I said?
I don't know what you said.
I said, can you do a rap for me about National Animal Rights Day?
I don't know what you said, but I was just like singing, rapping. It was like, for the animals. I don't even know what I said.
Oh, you rap?
Well, I did a beat bump.
All right.
Yeah.
We're going to save that for the end.
When I met Jamie, I was like, oh my God, she likes animals, dogs, and frogs. I was like, oh my God, let's blog. Maybe YouTube, I don't know, Snob went on her podcast. We were like, hey, we should do this like every day. Helped her with acting. She helped me with other things. Then we went on podcast, and now we're rapping.
I love that. Oh my God. Wow, did not expect that. A full talent house. What is going on?
So that's how we met, and I soon realized she's a triple threat, quadruple threat. She sings, she raps, she's an animal rights activist, and then
what more do you want?
Been together ever since.
And I've looked at your stuff. I've obviously been watching everything you've both been doing for such a long time, and I always look at it like, I don't think I could do that. Like, that's so cool. The fact that they have the audacity and the courage, and like lady boss, just go up there on the street and just do what you do. It's disruptive, it's controversial, it's provocative, and you're not afraid of doing that. What does it take?
First and foremost, you can definitely do it.
You could totally do it.
Anybody can do it.
Yeah.
When you take a look at what is happening to the animals, billions and billions of animals all around the world, every single day, every single second, we got to just do something about it. And activism is really the only thing that quiets my mind.
Right.
And I wasn't always an activist. I was very much go with the flow and happy-go-lucky and like more of the class clown in high school. And it got to a point where once I started learning the information, I changed. But then I was like, well, if I want to get this horrible torture to stop, I need to do something about it.
Exactly. It's more about just like, you mentioned audacity to do it, but these industries have the audacity to continue to exploit animals. And like Jamie said, I wasn't always an activist fully. Like I always was defending animals, but at the core of me is a passion of telling stories for the voiceless, and it was just naturally the cards fell out the way
I think
they
audacity
did.
is the wrong word, like the courage. But so many people know the truth but don't do anything about it. Like there's so many quiet vegans, and that's such a
Right.
disservice.
Well, we're not quiet at all. So, I mean, it's like a gift. So, like, I've always known, like, hey, I like to talk a lot. And if I know what I'm saying and my heart is there, people do listen. And so instead of, like, using that in the wrong spaces, I was like, okay, where does my voice actually have value? And I find that, like, in the animal activism world, I'm like, please, I want every opportunity to, like, use my voice to speak up for what's right, because it's so easy to use your voice for speaking on bullshit nowadays. Like, I'm like, okay, you have 7 million followers and you're, like, holding up animal skin bags, their shoes, and I'm like, you're the leader that everyone's following. You're making money. You're living a dream off of animals. And I'm just like, I want that to just be scratched. I'm like, cut the crap.
We got to counteract that. And honestly, if you would have told me that 10 years ago, if you would have told me you're going to be disrupting New York Fashion Week, you're going to be confronting big CEOs.
Was a coach?
Yeah.
It was coach.
If you're going to be debating Pierce Morgan on live TV about animal rights, I would have said, you are out of your mind. You are crazy. No,
you would have been like, hell yeah, I am. You're like, oh, shit.
I wasn't even vegan at the time.
True.
I probably would have been like, really? Like, I have that in me. And I think what it takes is really just keeping the animals in mind, because I have to put my own discomfort aside for them. And even when your voice shakes, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I get nervous before each and every disruption. Yesterday, I was just in Connecticut disrupting this woman scientist lady for testing on rats at the University of Bristol.
I saw that.
Yeah.
You like went right up while she was talking.
She was
talking
like,
about-
I'm going to take the mic. 1 second. No.
She was at Yale, so we went to Yale, and right before the action, it's like you just feel your breath tighten, and you're like, all right, here it goes. I guess I'm going to do this.
Those are just performance butterflies.
Oh,
Those are just performance butterflies.
Well, she's more of a natural than I am, because I get up, I have to rehearse it. Like, I have to know what I'm saying. And then I get up there, and then once you're up there and you're just saying what's happening for the animals, it just like channels through me. I don't know how else to describe it. It's just like, just thinking about what's happening to them and just being able to get the message across is really, that's what makes me most nervous, is that I'm going to like mess up for the animals and not get the message out there. But I think that anybody can do this. And I think that it's important to note where our place in the movement is most effective and powerful. So like, if you're an artist, there's a lot of great things that you can do, from making posters. If you're a musician, you can write songs about this. If you're a loudmouth activist like us, you can get out on the street.
I love that you said that, because we need all hands on deck, right? We need everyone from every like field space, whatever you're good at, whatever your superpower is. Like, we need you to bring that to the movement, whether that's sustainability or veganism, animal rights, whatever that might be. So we need everyone. Do you think these forms of disruptive activism, do they work? Because so many people have there's a lot of bad rep that gets. Like, people just get up. I mean, there was the whole Just Stop Oil, spilling soup over paintings. So there are a lot of people that say that it's too extreme and it's too disruptive.
Gosh. This is so funny, because it's like, obviously it works, because if you think about how radical it was back then with like the paint throwing and everything on people, it made a difference. We wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for all the activists that were being shamed for being extreme and radical. But like, what's taking place is extreme and just like embarrassing. So it's like, it's just like, thank you for opening up this conversation. You think this is extreme. What do you think you're doing? You're eating a dead body. You're wearing skin from a living creature who was probably so scared. So it's like, when you put the perspective into place, the people who are forming those opinions, I'm like, your opinion doesn't really matter to me, because you are a part of the problem. And people like when things are crazy.
Yeah.
Like they want to talk about the extremists.
Well, everybody always wants to say, oh, you should do it this way, you should do it that way.
Yeah.
And then they're sitting at home on their couch watching TV, not doing anything. So my answer to that is do it how you see to be the most effective. And I think that is really important to note that, like, we don't just go out and disrupt straight from the start.
Right.
We will usually approach companies for months, sometimes years on end to say, we notice these unethical practices within your company. We notice that chickens are dying on the floor of your factory farm even before making it to the plate. We notice that there's maggots crawling around. We have undercover investigation footage. Do something about it. And when they don't act and when they don't do things about it, that's when we take it up a notch and say, all right, you don't want to listen? Well, we have to take things up a notch, and now we have to disrupt you at your conference.
Right. Or if
example.
they lie. They're like ignoring or lying. Like, of course, we're going to take it up a notch.
Yeah. Is there a level of fear that comes with it? Because there was this lawyer, right, who spoke up against Chevron, like won a lawsuit against Chevron, who was arrested and lost his license, if I'm not wrong, recently. And
It
same
is
with activists
scary.
being arrested. Like Jane Fonda has been arrested, if right?
Yeah.
I think so.
if I'm not
It
wrong.
is very
Yeah.
scary. I mean, I think about that all the time because I just cannot even imagine being locked up for more than 2 hours. I think I would start losing like my sanity. And yes, the animals are going through much worse, but for me in particular, you know, you can't do anything from the prison cell. You know, like hopefully you have an army behind you that are going to fight for your freedom because you weren't doing anything, literally you weren't doing anything wrong. But I get nervous all the time. Like as an actor, like I still want to be an artist, and I get nervous all the time that like I'm being blacklisted because I'm fighting against the companies that sponsor all of these shows and movies. But at the end of the day, I don't want to get arrested, but I'd rather go down swinging for the animals than not live my truth and be one of the many robots that don't care.
I think I do have a little bit of a different perspective. Like, I think it's scary as well. But for me, I believe sometimes arrest is necessary to challenge the law,
The system,
to
yeah.
challenge the system, to clog the system quite literally with some of these cases like Open Rescue, where you have activists, they're going into these farms that are taking animals out of the farms and rescuing them with their faces shown, saying that compassion is not a crime. And they are challenging those laws. And some of those activists are facing 20 years in jail. But the question then becomes, is the risk that I am taking going to outweigh the getting the message out there? So if it is, then I probably wouldn't want to take that action. However, if the outcome where we're getting massive media attention for the animals, maybe a law is changing, then for me, if the outcome outweighs the risk, I will take the risk, and I am willing to face jail time. I am willing to die for this cause.
Jamie is the one getting arrested, not me. You could arrest her. Let me go. Let me go.
What's the biggest outcome of activism that you've seen over your years of being an activist, whether that's disruptive activism or online activism, like whatever that might have been? What's the most effective?
Do you want to answer that?
It's for both of you.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's a hard question because when it comes to the scale and the scope of this issue in particular, the food system, the amount of animals being killed every year has only gone up since I've started being vegan.
Which is crazy. That is crazy to me.
We are over 90 billion animals every single year that are being confined, tortured, murdered, and placed on our supermarket shelves. And that is the one thing as an activist, you're like,
What am I doing? Yeah.
Am I making a difference? And I hope so. And I don't know if I'm doing any good, but I know that doing nothing is no good. And that's Regan Russell's quote right there, a woman who was run over by a pig livestock truck 4 years ago. And so as you said, I will go down swinging no matter what it takes. And I think that there's multiple approaches to this issue. I think that we need to go through legislation and lobbying.
That's
and
what I was going to say.
We
need lawyers.
We have to reallocate. where our
Right.
tax dollars are going. The
Right.
fact that my money is going into the pockets of the meat, dairy, and egg industries every single year to
Yeah.
bail them out
Right.
is insane.
Yeah, regardless of your choice, regardless of your actual standpoint.
Yes.
Most people don't even realize that that's what's happening.
So
They
the
wouldn't be
other-
profitable without our money.
No.
The other pronged approaches on top of legislation, I think, is education. I am a big fan of education, and that's why I'm going on tour with allied scholars for animal protection to tour around the country to speak to students at universities about these issues, because these are the future thought leaders. These are the
Yeah.
future people that are going to be making the calls.
Right,
So we
right.
need to focus on education 1,000%.
Right.
Then there's film. There's other things.
Yeah.
So when we talk about the victories, I think that it is super important to focus on the victories because that's what keeps us going as activists. So a few victories that I've seen are the drop of certain designers dropping fur, which is amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a big deal, and that is a few different reasons. One is the on the ground grassroots activism. Another reason is because companies like PETA, organizations like PETA, will go in and have conversations with them
Right.
and present them with the footage.
Right. I think making vegan cool is what is going to help us move forward. And I feel like there have been small victories under that bracket, you know, like people are wanting to go to this cool new vegan restaurant, you know, or wear this new bag that, you know, this vegan artist that they respect as an artist just dropped, you know, like those small ways of not even like normalizing it as opposed to being like, this is vegan. People are just naturally doing it without feeling that pressure of like having to be vegan, having to change the whole lifestyle. I think the more little changes, like those are the biggest victories, because then it's just like normal. I hope that we don't use the word vegan in the next 10 years and it's just like our foundation.
Yeah, I saw this. I think it's called Van Leeuwen, the ice cream place, and it says ice cream and vegan ice cream. And I was just thinking about that. I'm like, why do you have to say ice cream and vegan ice cream? Like, why are there these like two separate categories?
Yeah, if you're gonna say vegan ice cream, say cow milk ice cream.
Yeah.
Titty
like
milk
specify
ice
that.
cream.
Like
Like,
one's
no-
normal and the other is not.
Non-animal abuse ice cream. It's like the term vegan, people have this association with it, and sometimes a negative way. And
definitely
really,
have a negative.
I want to encourage people to just replace the word vegan with being kind to animals.
Yeah.
So
Kind ice cream.
kind ice cream. That's all it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Planet-friendly ice cream.
Right.
Healthy ice cream. You know, healthier choice. So it is something where you'll actually see certain restaurants take the word vegan out of the name. There's this bakery in Woodstock, New York called Sweet Melissa's, and originally it had the word vegan, like vegan bakery underneath it. They took that out. People don't even know it's vegan. It's packed. Everybody loves it. They go in there. But as soon as you tell them that it's vegan and it doesn't contain cow pus, blood, urine, and fecal
Bleach.
matter, as
They
soon
don't
as you
wanna
tell
have
them
it.
that's not in there,
Yeah.
they're like, ew, I can't have that.
It's crazy.
And I'm like, are you serious right now? It's crazy. People are fine eating ground up eyeballs, noses, and anuses, but as soon as you tell them that it doesn't contain that and that it's vegan, they're like, oh no,
right.
can't eat that.
It's insane.
The
disconnect.
conditioning and the disconnect. You're so right, because even the way we talk about things, right? Like it's so far away from the story that's been sold to us. The way the way animals are murdered versus what you find on the supermarket shelves is so different. Like the
know.
repackaging and the branding, marketing, all of that combined. It's crazy.
It's a big brainwash. It's a big brainwashing game, and I think, you know, like the word gaslighting is like a huge popular term right now, and I'm like, we've been gaslit all our lives, especially now. I believe there's been an evolution in the human mind. You know, like we are more aware. We're more easily able to go, wait, I don't want to do that anymore. And like our families, our society has been gaslighting us into normalizing this type of behavior. And it's just like, we need to just change the way we say things. Like, people hate when I'm like, oh yeah, you're a cow's dead body, and they're like, ah, and I'm like, well,
That's what it is.
what do you want me to say?
Yeah.
Beef? That makes you feel more comfortable. That is
Right.
why you think it's okay. But when I say what it is, you're so uncomfortable. So like, just just, do you want the truth or not? You know?
People consistently are trying to find the right way to do the wrong thing. And when we talk about gaslighting, we are now facing the biggest gaslighting scandal of all time in all of human history, where they're using terms like grass-fed and free range.
Dude, I just saw a video
of
grass being thrown on top of cows that are like chained up like in a stall, and I was like, shut the front door. This is grass-fed. I myself was mind blown. I was like, oh, so they don't even go outside and eat the grass. You're throwing the grass on them. I'm like, people don't know this.
Dude, the point is that even if they ate grass their whole lives, that cow hanging upside down in the slaughterhouse
is gonna be dead. I know.
That they were grass-fed. They don't give a shit that you named them or treated them kindly. They wanted to live, and you took that one thing that they had for themselves, which was their lives.
Yeah.
So don't give me that BS. And I'm sick and tired of hearing regenerative agriculture.
Yeah.
I'm doing it the better way. No, the better way would be to let that land rewild or to grow plants on it. That would be the better way. If you want to talk about sequestering carbon, if you want to talk about what is actually better for the environment, rewilding is the way to go. So don't give me that. And also, you cannot feed a planet of meat eaters on that way of farming, on regenerative agriculture, on a small farm. Oh, I only buy local and organic. Well, good for you, Sally Joe.
I'm like, you know what? You make me want to slap you more now that you think that you did something better. You didn't. You're just kind of lost.
So then it's like also it becomes a socioeconomic issue because it's like you have all these other people that can't afford to do things like that. And so you're like, oh, they can just participate in the factory farming system, go to McDonald's, go to Burger King, but I go to my local farmer. It's like that makes you even more evil because you're taking these animals that lived a quote unquote good life. They don't, most of them, but then they end up at the slaughterhouse fighting for their lives because they valued their lives and they lost their lives because of you. So like I am so sick of these gaslighting terms. Like the greenwashing is out of control.
It is out of control.
I hear that all the time. Humane, ethical, local farmers. What would happen to the industry? There's so many farmers that depend on it. What about their livelihoods? What about the economy?
The farmers don't want to do that. After so many years of actually getting beat with the truth of what they're doing, they become so depressed. And we know some farmers that have changed and have gone vegan because they realize the destruction that they are doing, and some of them, it's not even their choice anymore. Their farm has been bought by these major, huge industries that they're working for them, and now they're like, oh, I'm trapped in this. This is horrible.
Right. We understand that some of these farmers have been doing this for many, many years. Their parents, their grandparents have been doing this, and that they just were kind of born into it. I totally understand that. Right. But it becomes it comes to a point where culture and tradition doesn't continue to justify abusing animals and harming the environment. And there are programs out there that are helping farmers to transition out of this. So instead of just saying, oh, because I've always done something, I'm going to continue doing it. It's like, I challenge people to just continue to do better and to try to transition to farming oats or peas or beans or legumes or mushrooms. And it's not going to happen overnight. I get it. But I hate the term, let's meet people where they're at. No. Let's adjust our approach to maybe be kinder in certain circumstances or adjust our approach for who we're talking to. But I think it's important to always challenge people to do better. And it's like you wouldn't meet somebody where they're at if they're a pedophile. You would say that's wrong and you should do better, right?
You would say lock them up. Throw away the key. That's what we would say.
Or 100%. Or a dog abuser. You wouldn't say, okay, I'm going to meet you where you're at. You would adjust your approach to who you're speaking to.
People are enraged. Every time there's dog abuse, people are enraged, but there's a picture on the story next of them eating chicken or, whatever. So I do want to talk about Elwood's, right? It's Elwood's organic dog meat.
Yeah.
Yes. Please tell me about that.
Oh, I love Elwood. So this woman, Molly Elwood, she developed this company called Elwood's Organic Dog Meat, and it's a free-range, organic, grass-fed dog meat farm where they raise all these puppies from Labrador Retrievers, pugs, King Charles Cavaliers. They turn them into pug bacon, lab steaks, and people are really up in arms about it. The general public hates them, and we were setting up these Elwood dog meat booths on college campuses with allied scholars, and the students were coming over, and they were like, "Are you guys really selling dog meat? That's awful!" And some students were really angry, and I pushed them a little further, and I said, "Do you eat meat?" And many of them said yes.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, so why do you have a problem with this? In fact, I mean, if you really want to break it down, this is kind of like more ethical or sustainable. And then they would get like super angry. And I said, the feeling that you have right now is actually how I feel every single day about people eating all animals.
Yeah.
And it just is a way to help people connect with the topic of veganism. It's like they're actually going through the emotional roller coaster that we have to go through. Because I don't see the difference between a dog, a cow, a chicken, a turkey, a fish cut up on the table and dismembered. I don't see the difference. And so it's a little bit of like a psychology thing. The dog meat, Elwood's organic dog meat, is not real. And if you go to their website and you scroll through to the very bottom, you'll find that out. But it's fun.
That's what kind of made me go fully vegan, because I was struggling with like being vegetarian for so long. I didn't even understand that veganism was a thing or that it was the better choice. And when I realized that I was putting more value onto dogs and cats, it was just like a picture, like a drawing. It hit me, and I was like, oh my God. And I like burst into tears. I see the picture so vividly in my head. And I was like, wow, I'm a piece of shit for thinking anybody is better than anybody, let alone a dog to a pig, you know? Because I hate when people make that comparison with cats and dogs. I'm like, I love them both. And then I'm like, wait, I love goats and I love cats. Like, what am I doing? You know, people just can't make that connection. It's unfortunate, but the system is set up that way.
That's true. Just empathy for animals that are domesticated.
Yeah, we don't get to spend time with cows and goats and chickens as often as we do with dogs and cats. And we made it that way so that we could have dogs and cats in our homes, which is a whole other just messed up topic. But it's just like, if people were around more animals, most, I think, won't be eating them as much. I think. And we understand that maybe the whole world might not go vegan because of the physics of negatives and positives. But if enough of us get on the scale of veganism, then that would be our normal. And if you want to do the cruel thing, then you will have to be the outsider now.
We have to say that these farmed animals are not intelligent. We have to say that God put them here for us to eat.
I hear that all the time.
Right. We have to say that they don't feel pain and that they are fine dying. We have to place these really, kind of ignorant statements on them in order to justify doing the things that we do to them. And so I do think that if people spent more time with them, they would realize that they have personalities, that they're individuals, that some are sassy, some are sweet, some are funny. They're all different ranges, and yet we put them into this one category and just say chicken, pig. And really, when we look at the scale and the scope of this issue, the number 92 billion is so large it's almost hard to comprehend. But every single one of those digits represents a soul, an individual that wanted to live, that
was a part of a family.
That had a mother, that fought for their lives until the very end. And it's really interesting that you brought up the point that comparing dogs to farmed animals is what helped you make the connection, because it was very similar for me as well. And it was a seed that was planted. So when I was 13, I grew up in New York City, and I really never spent time with farmed animals. It was rare to see them. I think maybe at a petting zoo is when I would have come across a goat.
Yeah.
So I was visiting my grandparents in Indiana one summer, and it was a really, really hot day. We were driving on the highway heading to the store, and alongside us came this big livestock truck, and it was this big metal truck, and my dog was in the car with us. And I was looking back and forth at my dog, and the 50 plus pigs that were crammed inside this huge metal truck. And they were panting. It was so hot. And I just remember feeling really uncomfortable and weird about it and not being able to see what the difference was between my beloved companion animal and these pigs that were headed to the slaughterhouse. And that shook me up. And from that moment on, I said, I'm no longer eating pigs anymore. And it was easy for me to say that because I didn't eat pigs much to begin with. So it was that first seed that was planted, which then led me to realize, wait, cows are not that much different.
Right.
Chickens are not really different either. And fish and my whole world is turned upside down. Right. And then I went vegan after learning about the dairy and the egg industries.
Yeah. Your whole life gets turned upside down.
Yeah.
But it's okay. You have to be fearless. Like you said, like having the audacity to change up your whole life and say, now that I know, now that the science, the everything is saying this is the kinder, sustainable choice, you have to be courageous enough to change your life, or else you'll just be stuck in like toxic patterns. And that's what we're all trying to get out of.
It's definitely hard though, because you're the party pooper in every room you walk into. You know, people
I'm
call
like,
you
here
names.
I am, a poopy
Here she
girl.
goes again. You know, I'm sure you deal with that as well. The backlash and the way people perceive you, the way your friends look at you.
Yeah.
And you know, the courage it takes to even step into who you become after learning the truth. What has that been like?
The social pressure is certainly the hardest part about being vegan, and it's very sometimes frustrating because when you walk into these rooms, there's usually food and it's almost like hard to avoid, and people will usually be the ones to bring it up. And then when I respond, then it's like, you don't shut up about veganism. And
it's like, well, you opened the door.
Yeah.
I'm like, you guys are the
You
one that
started
asked
by
me.
mocking me.
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
It's so that's such a pet peeve of mine. I actually don't mind the social aspect. I actually don't like a lot of people just because people continue to live in the dark. And hey, if what we have to talk about that's the truth is going to start a fight, let's go. Let's fight. Let's have a educated discussion. And yeah, it's so annoying because we're not the ones talking about it.
Yeah, you're saying about the
What
party.
could be a little exhausting, I think, is that it slowly over time became my identity. And I feel like the Jamie that people have known my whole life, that part is almost lost a little bit sometimes.
Yeah, I feel that.
Because I feel the need to constantly defend animals because it's so ingrained in our society.
Right.
And there's a quote from Sharon Gannon's book. It's a poetry book, and the book is called Magic is a Shift in Perception. And one of her poems, it references, when is it the right time to talk about the wrong thing? And
that is a question I always need to know.
It's like sometimes I go back and forth. I'm like, do I bring it up now? Do I not? I'm not sure. And I try my best to always, when I'm talking with people, to leave them with a positive impression about veganism, because people may not always remember what you say, but they will always remember how you made them feel.
Absolutely.
And so when they look back at a conversation about veganism, I never want to be the reason why they continue to abuse animals, you know? Like I want to try to lead by example in the best way possible and show them, look, you can be very healthy, you could be fit, not that is why you go vegan.
But there's so many pros to it.
There are so many pros to it. The best part is that nobody gets hurt, right?
Right.
Doing street activism and talking to people, what do you think holds people back? Like, what are the most common responses you receive? What are, like, you know, the bottlenecks? What's stopping people?
Oh, I hear the same 5 excuses every single time I talk to people. People are concerned about where they're getting their protein. Yeah. And they and this just shows how brainwashed they are because it's the same
their
stuff.
default.
Like, I know what they're going to say minutes before they say it.
Convenience is like the biggest thing.
Expense. They say, oh, veganism is expensive. And I'm like, rice, beans, tofu, really? Come on. And sometimes people will say, well, God put them there and that animals are here for us.
How do you respond to that? Can you take all the 5 common responses you receive?
Sure.
And what's your most common answer?
Sure. Before I forget, another one is crop deaths. So they'll say, well, you're not perfect as a vegan.
Yeah, animals too.
And one other one that they say
Has to be culture, right?
is culture, you know, my family.
Culture.
So I guess we'll go through it. Why don't you throw them out and then we can answer?
So veganism, no, protein. Where do I get my protein from? Let's start with that. That I need animal protein or
Well, first of all,
complex protein.
I think that's such a big question, like a big topic, because first of all, we live in a society that we care so much about our surface, like the surface and what we look like, that having a certain amount of protein is only to gain certain superficial attributes. Protein is actually something that speeds up your aging. So you don't need that much protein, and it comes in so many forms when it comes to plants. Like I don't have a protein deficiency. Could I have more muscle? Sure. I'm not actively trying to gain that because I am not going for a certain physical look to be socially accepted or
the thing that I like
looked at best.
I ask people questions back. So when they ask me that, where do I get my protein? I say, well, where do the animals that you eat get their protein?
Right.
People think that animals are some magical
Protein
reservoir
makers.
of nutrients, and the truth is that they get everything they need from plants. So
And
why
they're not even
go-
getting enough nutrients in these factories anyway. They're getting fed some garbage.
Yeah. Protein comes from plants, period.
Yeah.
Next.
Veganism is expensive.
It can be. I think it can be if you are buying these meat substitutes or all of these like animal substitutes. But if you go back to a whole food plant-based diet, it's not that expensive. And again, it is a socially structured issue because everything's expensive right now. You know, to be healthy is expensive, and that is a systematic issue. Has nothing to do with veganism.
Yeah. So what is veganism? Veganism is an ethical stance against the oppression of animals. It is not a diet.
Right.
And
Yes.
that we need to make clear to people when they say veganism is expensive, I'm like, what? I'm like, you figure out what you're gonna
What's
eat,
your budget?
but-
And then
Yeah.
manage it. What are your priorities? Is it protein? Okay,
Right.
fine. So then get your protein, plant protein first, and then what's your next one?
if you care about the
You know?
animals, you make it work.
You
But
make it
We're
work.
also not factoring in the hidden costs of meat, dairy, and
Yes.
eggs, from the
Right.
environmental costs down the road, the land usage, the water usage, also the health consequences that people face
Right.
after years of eating these products. They're on
Right.
multiple different medicines past the age of 60.
Right.
And so they have diseases, which they have to take, that the costs add up,
Yeah.
right? So would you rather, like, I don't know, eat a healthy diet now and maybe put in like the extra couple of cents for organic if you can,
right.
or later on have to pay for that?
Right.
I don't know. People are in different positions, but I do think that like when we keep in mind that veganism is just simply a stance against hurting animals, you can't say that that's expensive because that's not it's not an
Entirely
action.
true.
Yeah.
It's a belief, an ideology. It's
Right.
a philosophy.
Right.
How do you deal with vegetarians? Because in India, that's such a big thing that, oh, I'm vegetarian, but like dairy is so important. We grew up eating paneer.
Right.
We need milk for calcium and for our bones, and we need to have ghee. Like, how do you deal with vegetarians? Because I'm sure you must interact with a lot of people who
My
are vegetarians.
best friend is vegetarian, and she was vegetarian before I was vegan, and it's really difficult. I think she knows the truth, but it's just, I think the biggest thing is people just don't care.
Vegetarianism
Like,
is
they
a
just-
diet.
Yeah.
It's not an ethical stance
It's
against
convenient.
oppression.
It's more convenient to have vegetarian foods. You can go down the street and get like a $2 slice of cheese pizza, and people will justify that over what the righteous thing to do is. I don't really like talking to vegetarians too much, to be honest.
Yeah, because it feels like the
they're the
low-hanging
most
fruit. Like,
stubborn.
it feels like they should be the lowest hanging fruit. But yeah, what's
I
your
disagree.
interaction with?
I personally have not found that it's like the lowest hanging fruit.
Yeah, I think that vegetarians can sometimes be difficult, but if they are vegetarian because they believe it's reducing suffering to animals, then it's a no-brainer to go vegan because
You would think.
once you explain the dairy and egg industries to them, and once you say cows are killed in the dairy industry, their babies are killed, they are separated from each other, they are impregnated forcefully, it is a horrific industry. Once you explain that to vegetarians who care about animals, then it seems like like, okay, it's a no-brainer for them to go vegetarian, vegan. And I've seen that happen because I was one of those vegetarians that went vegan after learning the information. Then with the egg industry, same thing. When you explain to these vegetarians that in the egg industry, male baby chicks, as soon as they're born, are ground up alive. You can't avoid that. That's what happens at the hatcheries. And when you buy eggs, you are supporting that 1,000%. And then vast majority of the chickens and the hens in these industries end up at the slaughterhouse. So whether you have your backyard eggs, which everybody wants to bring up as soon as you talk about eggs, which we know that you are going to the grocery store, you are not buying, whatever. The point is that we are exploiting animals, and as soon as there's some type of profit at the end of the day when it comes to animals, it is unethical and inhumane. So when you explain to those vegetarians, this is what happens, I've seen people change. However, when people go vegetarian and they've been vegetarian for many years, sometimes decades, they're caught up in this way, and change can be uncomfortable. Yeah. It's like going to the gym, right?
You don't go get muscles within a week.
Right. You have to be consistent with it. And sometimes at first it's like, oh, I don't want to go. Or at first you're like, oh, okay, I have to reach for this cheese instead of this vegan cheese instead of this cheese. I just have to adjust what products that I normally like. It can just be a little bit of effort, not much. You realize it's actually a lot easier than you think it is. And so, yeah, then ultimately they change. But vegetarians will like to say, I'm already doing enough.
Yeah, it's difficult. I don't like to be pessimistic. I like to consider myself a realist. And it's just like any bad habit. Some people change for them is much more difficult. They don't believe in themselves. Yeah. And out of convenience, they will throw their morals aside. Because I know a lot of people care about animals, and they are doing the best that they can do without realizing that they could do better. And just like that extra...
And it's okay to be wrong, right? It's okay to just say that I didn't know that.
Know how to be like,
I didn't know that,
right,
and I know this now,
wrong.
So I'm going to change.
Yeah.
Just what it takes to admit that you were wrong and you're making the right choice now. So many people are not willing to do that.
I know. And it's the world we live in.
You don't need dairy products for your health.
No.
And as you were saying that some people say they need it for their strong bones, and it's because we've been told this, and it's because the advertisements are showing this. And so when we look at just kind of what we're doing to these cows by taking breast milk that's meant for their babies and then giving it to humans, replace cow with dog, replace cow with giraffe. Would you drink giraffe's milk? Would you like suck an udder, like a nipple from a giraffe? It's weird.
So gross. I never liked cow milk.
I was forced. We're the only species that takes milk from other mothers and ingest it and say that we need that to be healthy.
Yeah.
It's like, come on. I could see right through that from a mile away. It's all about the money.
Right.
Follow the money.
That's actually why I went vegan. My sociology teacher brought that up. And I was like, wait, this blows my mind. Like, I've never thought about it that way. So she went into the history of animal agriculture and factory farming and how it all started. And I watched Cowspiracy. Wow. Yeah. And she wasn't even trying to, make this about veganism. She was just talking about the history of food and where, where everything comes from.
Right.
It's amazing.
And, cows were milked for money.
Right.
What else?
She created a little monster.
Yeah, look at that. And now I won't shut up about it.
That's great.
If she knew that then, she'd be like, she should be in my class.
Reach out to her and be like, thank you so much.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, you're right. We touched upon expensive. We touched upon protein. We touched upon vegetarians. Culture. That's a big one.
Oh, culture.
Religion. Culture
is hilarious because culture changes all the time, right? It's like it evolves. Of course, there are certain things that stay the same, but it's like if part of your culture, let's use women, for example, is suppressing women, right? It was part of American culture. Women didn't vote, but women had to stand up for themselves and fight really hard. And that goes to any oppressed group. We can't just hide behind culture, but that is a crippling effect. It held me back. Every time Thanksgiving rolled around the corner when I was younger and I was like, oh, I'm a vegetarian, I would always throw my morals aside and excuse my behavior for Thanksgiving with my family, just not to feel Like there was nothing I could eat because no one made an effort for me at the time. It was a different time, you know? So, and my partner definitely holds onto culture, and his family cares about animals. His mom gets upset about the chickens and the cows. And yet I'm like, but you know, that's why I'm like, you can talk to people all day, but if their habits are so ingrained, if they haven't worked on the muscles of like growth, culture is one of the biggest like attachments people have with their food, and just like it goes out the window. And sometimes what I did was I had to stop going home for the holidays. It was a sacrifice, but I showed to myself I can make a whole vegan Thanksgiving meal by myself, for myself. And then I slowly gained a vegan family and just like tried to implement those dishes when I did decide I was strong enough to go home and bring the vegan options. And all my family's like, what's that? I'm like, you know what the freak this is? I'm like, this is a salad. Shut up. You know, people started to act crazy like they've never seen vegetables before. And it's like, you just have to like help make new traditions and break this cultural barrier that it can't evolve.
Cultural dishes can be made with using plants. When I ask people,
easy.
You take a raw piece of chicken. Nobody just eats that. You season it.
And nobody likes to clean a chicken. No one likes to touch a dead body
Take
part.
the seasoning, put it on whatever plant-based protein that you want to put it on, and there you have it. You can make your meal and I just had vegan Caribbean food yesterday. I mean, come on.
It's so easy. All of our cultures are derived from plant-based foods.
Yeah.
We just ate animals to survive back then.
When it comes to the social pressure and social aspect of things, I think that is my best advice to people listening would be to really develop a support system.
Yeah, that's
and
so vital.
Make other vegan friends.
So
because
important.
Otherwise you just feel like alone and isolated, and you start to
Weird.
question, am I wrong? Because it's like something that's so widespread and the people that I love are all doing this and participating in it. How could it be so bad if they're all doing it, right? So making vegan friends and having a support system is everything, so that when you are maybe at that Thanksgiving table, maybe you have like a vegan friend with you, or if you are
support system.
Yes, exactly. Having that support system is essential. So culture doesn't justify hurting animals.
Yeah.
Period.
How do you deal with God put animals here for us to consume, for us to use?
God put animals here to help us and for us to love. I mean, Jamie invited, I remember like when I started my activism, I was like, oh my God, I feel like Jesus. I feel like everybody hates me and they want to kill me. And I just want everyone to learn the truth and just like stop harming. Thou shalt not kill. You know, and she was like, you know what? There's a movie coming out.
Oh, Christspiracy is coming to redeem you. Yeah.
And when I watched that movie, I was like, It was actually shattering, but it heals my inner child of like, because I grew up Catholic. I went to Catholic school, and I was like, oh my God, this is why there was this resistance. I loved it. I love storytelling. I loved, you know, walking about life with a moral code.
Yeah.
But then something just wasn't making sense. And when I watched that movie, I was like, I know it. God did not put these animals here for us. We have been manipulated. Not only have we been manipulated, we've been manipulated by men, and we've been manipulated by the guts of our fate. And that is the biggest crime of the freaking world, you know? And like, that is a hard one for people to accept and to wrap their minds around. But that movie really did lay it out, and it's crazy. Like, yeah, in the church, they were profiting off of people bringing their animals in the name of forgiveness, sacrifice, and it's just doesn't make sense, right? Like, like I used to start sweating whenever we were in church and they were talking about people bringing their kids to sacrifice. I'm like, are these people nuts? I'm like, Mother, would you do that to me if God fucking said you kill my daughter? It just doesn't make sense, and we shouldn't be killing animals. God literally wants us to be as kind as possible and love each other and treat thy neighbor as we want to be treated. And if life was the way it should be, we would have cows as our neighbors, and we would have goats and chickens walking around, and like, they don't deserve to be killed.
No, because I'm Jen, and the first principle is ahimsa. It doesn't say kindness or empathy towards just humans. It says towards all living beings, right? Non-violence towards all living beings, and that includes plants and animals. Like,
why are we excusing that? So like, I think it's just like I think it's scary for people to realize that, and I think if they did, they might have their fate become stronger, because I believe in everything. God, universe, whatever you want to call it, definitely didn't bring us here to be destructive. And I mean, if you believe that, then you are a part of the dark side. Maybe there is the dark side and the good side. Sometimes I'm like, you know what? People who want animals here for themselves, y'all can go on this side of the planet or under the grounds, and like, just leave other people who want to do right to do right.
Yeah, I mean, when I'm talking to people on the street and they say this excuse,
culture, religion, family.
Yeah, right. Or if they're talking about God.
Why did God bring these animals here? They brought us for us.
Oh, sorry. It was about God.
Yeah.
It was God putting animals in it.
I will usually try to start with, meeting them not where they're at, but trying to approach it from a way of like, okay, I might not be super religious, but I'll be like, okay, so if an all-loving God, let's say, did place animals here on this earth for us, why did he give them the ability to feel pain and suffer? And what would an all-loving God think about these slaughterhouses that we have in existence today and the factory farms that we have in existence today? Yes. And that way, what that does is that, number one, builds credibility between me and the other person that I'm speaking to, because they see that, like, I'm at least acknowledging that there is a God, number one. And I'm also acknowledging that maybe the system that we have in place today, we can agree that it's not working. So then once they say, okay, well, maybe what if it's just like a small farm and then they kill them like it was done back in the day? So then we can then get onto that of like, okay, what we think about that. But right then and there, we can find that common ground. And I think that is so important when you're speaking to people, is finding the common ground of where we can agree on it. So that's number one, what an all-loving God. And then when we talk about like the Bible, I'm not going to say I'm an expert on the Bible whatsoever, but I do know enough to have a conversation about like, all right, well, you have Adam and Eve. You have this beginning of time. This is like the perfect world. Right. And in that perfect world, there was no meat.
Yeah, they were not eating animals.
They were not eating animals. And then what happened when the flood hit is everything turned to chaos, and that is when we started eating animals again. So when we look at
but at the end of the day, Noah, he took only animals.
Okay, so when we look at
the priority,
what is happening, so then after the flood hit, so then when we say like, okay, what does heaven look like? Are they eating animals in heaven? And do you know the Lord's Prayer?
Maybe. I don't know. How does it go?
I don't know it fully, but it basically says something along the lines of like, what we are doing now here on earth, we should strive to do, or what's done in heaven, we should strive to.
You can look it up if you want. Like, feel free.
Should we read it real quick?
Yeah, feel free to do that.
Heaven is a place on earth with you. I know this. This is what the Lord's Prayer is called.
I asked you to read
the
Lord's.
Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, not cow, and forgive us. Oh, I used to say trespasses, but this here says debts, our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Forgiveness. And lead us not into temptation. Don't eat the sad cutie animals, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen.
So that right there, that line about
That's very different.
what's done in heaven that we should be doing down on earth. I'll ask people, do you think that there are slaughterhouses in heaven? Do you think that they're eating animals in heaven? What would Jesus do?
Yes.
Would
What would Jesus do?
Would Jesus take a knife to an animal's throat? And no, absolutely not.
Right.
Jesus was opening up the cages to release the animals in the temples where they were about to be slaughtered.
Dude, when I saw that part of the movie, I was like, I'm Jesus. 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 How could I have ever doubted you? I was like, I knew it.
Yes.
I was like, you guys all gaslit me in the church. You guys are liars. You guys are hypocrites. Y'all are everything that people hate about the church, because if there was not hypocrisy in the church, people would feel more community, feel like their fate was based off of what they were being taught, which is kindness and love and acceptance and equality and no murder and no stealing. Stealing is also from dairy. Like, we are not stealing from cows. We are not stealing from sheep. We're not stealing their wool. Thou shalt not. You know, and like, there may be temptation, like it is in the prayer. There may be temptation because, like I said, there's evil and good in this planet. Yin yang will always exist. Like in the Bible, they say like there will always be poor, there will always be suffering. However, you have the power and the choice to lead a righteous life and not fall into temptation and deliver yourself from evil. Amen.
And amen. And I think that we have to
Amen to
recognize,
that.
wake up and realize that we're living in 2024.
Right.
Okay? And that at this point in time, most of us do not need to eat animals to survive.
No.
And I said most for a reason, because I want to make it clear that we as vegan activists are not going into impoverished communities.
Yeah.
And
Indigenous places,
and
you know.
preaching out there. We're really just trying to start with, the vast majority of people who can change right now, and then we'll get there,
Right. And I'm pretty sure those places, if they had the choices, because I'm from the Bronx, and when I go to the grocery store in the Bronx, even the produce they're spoiled. Everything seems to be not of quality. So like, yeah, it may be difficult, but the people who are privileged enough to make those choices to have the good, they should vote with their dollar and make it popular and make it standard that fruits, vegetables, legumes, plant-based foods should be the staple and should be the majority, if not the only, It's like, wake up and smell the coffee. It's 2024. You could get freaking vegan steak. Shut up. Like, it's exhausting.
Oh, I went to Coletta the other day, and the cheese
Where?
board
Coletta?
and
Yeah.
the steak tartare.
I haven't had their cheese board. Was it yummy?
Oh my God, blue cheese. They had blue cheese. They had like everything you can imagine, and
Right.
yeah, the steak tartare with like little caviar on top,
So yummy.
and you get the most delicious. There's nothing you can't get right now.
Right. You just have to remember that there's going to be some time where your taste buds, your hormones, your mindset needs adjustment for it to finally click. Because I always tell people that like my brain chemistry, like even though I knew this was the right thing, I was vegan. But one day into veganism, my brain switched and I was like, I was looking at the grocery store. I was like, oh my God, these are all dead bodies, dead bodies, dead bodies, dead bodies, dead bodies.
The filter, the lens.
Yeah, I was
you
like, oh my
start
God, the
seeing things
zombie
differently.
apocalypse is now.
Yeah.
I love the analogy of The Matrix, the movie.
Yes.
Where it's
Yeah.
like you either choose to take the red pill where
Or
you
the blue
see
pill.
the truth,
Yeah.
you see it for what it is, it's
Right.
painful and everybody else is asleep, or you take the blue pill and you stay asleep and ignorantly blissful with everybody else.
Right.
And what we've done is we've taken that red pill and I wouldn't change it for the world. I mean,
No.
sometimes I do think, I'm like, damn, my life would probably be a lot less chaotic and a lot more peaceful.
The
if I
compassion fatigue. It's real.
It is so hard to be nice.
Yeah.
Not that it's hard to be nice, but the world makes it so difficult to be.
So I mean, I wouldn't change it for the world. And I think that like, we just have to realize that we're here to help wake more people up. And once we reach that tipping point of the population, I think
Right.
it's around 12.5%, according to social sciences. They say that when we reach that percentage of the population to go vegan and to have that awakening, that then afterwards it will become
Easier.
like a
Ripple
domino
effect.
effect.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait for
So we
that.
need every warrior. It's like I was telling Jamie, I was like, dang, because Jamie definitely does activism full time, you know? And I'm like, you just signed up for war. Like, she was like, you know what? I've been doing these little things, but now I'm a soldier. And I'm like, I'm kind of scared to be full-time soldier because war in general is horrible, but at least we're soldiers of the good team. Period. No matter what anyone says. I think one day you said something, you were like, I like being vegan because I'm never wrong. That's
how I feel.
Technically, it is so true.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, how can you fight us wanting to protect these babies?
No, because it's just science after science after science. And forget the science, just empathy on every level. Like, I can argue with you from the health perspective, the environmental perspective, the ethical perspective, colonialism. Like, I can go all out, right? But like, I don't know how that doesn't get you.
I know. That's how you know most of us are made a little differently. Like, I do think everyone has the potential to go vegan, but honestly, not everyone. Just because I don't think everyone has the capacity to have empathy. And I mean, that's even like a scientific thing too. Like, they say that like narcissists, like sociopaths, like they do not have the ability to have empathy. And then that's when I'm like, that makes sense. But there's so many of us that do. So it's like, you don't believe that? I do.
What do you think?
I believe that it's a lot easier for people to say, I don't care, than to actually say, oh, wait, that's kind of messed up and I need to change.
Yeah.
As soon as they just say the words, I don't care, they can convince themselves they don't care. And it's out of sight, out of mind. And then the onus is off of them. They don't have to change. They don't have to do anything because I can't work with somebody that says I don't care.
Right.
I mean,
it ends there.
What am I going to do?
It just ends there, yeah.
But what they might care about is the environment or their health.
Right.
Or
if their family member gets sick, the alternatives.
What I like to say to those type of people is, well, what if it were happening to you? Mm-hmm. Would you want somebody to say, I don't care?
Right.
Or what if it were happening to an animal that you loved, your dog or your cat at home? I would hope that you would want somebody to speak up and protect them,
right? The
way that you would want to protect one of your if it were happening to your animal, right? So bringing it back home, I think is sets the tone a little bit when we're having these conversations with people, because I don't believe that they don't care, like, at all. I mean, maybe you're talking about like a psychopath that's a serial killer.
There are some people that they can't
empathize. Okay, it is a small percentage, and I would hate to categorize, all these people based off of it.
Psychopaths.
Yeah, because the vast majority, I think,
it's just a defense mechanism. That's what it is. They're just protecting themselves from like learning the truth, because so many people don't want to watch the slaughterhouse footage. Right. They don't want to know where their bags are coming from, what happened to the crocodile, what happened to the calf.
I know a lot of people who are vegan and they still have their snake backs, and I'm like, you're not vegan.
The disconnect, exactly.
You're plant-based.
Yeah. What would you want to say to someone who is skeptical of going vegan, or someone who's on like the edge?
It will be the best thing you ever did. I wish I went vegan earlier. That's like the most common thing vegan people say.
Yeah, and that I guess I would say to reach out to us anytime, and we're resources, and to truly do your own research and to look at who is funding studies that you're reading. Right. Because there's a lot of misinformation online, and you'll see things like woman feeds baby vegan food and the baby dies from malnutrition. It's like, the woman was only giving the baby almond milk and was starving the child. Like, what are you talking about veganism for? It has nothing to do with veganism. So it's like media will pick and choose different things. So really being careful about where you're funding your information from. PCRM.org is an amazing site. Resource. And great resource where people can look at peer-reviewed studies. And if you're curious about soy, I know that that's a big topic. People are worried about that. Look into soy. If it gave you bigger boobs, trust me, it would be the number one thing on the market. Right. I would have double, triple Ds.
I actually lost my boobs since going vegan. So, like, that's not true. So
I didn't lose any boobs. I just didn't have any to begin with. But I would say look into these things further and notice, like, really take note that, like, an animal rights activist like myself, I'm not making money from you going vegan. I'm not getting hurt from you going vegan. In fact, who's making money is
people
the
promoting the
industries.
Yeah.
Are the animal agriculture industry. They have everything to lose.
Yeah.
So who do you want to believe? Like people that are just in it because you're lining their pockets with money? Or do you want to actually listen to scientists and compassionate people that just want to see a better world for all living beings?
Right. Yeah, that's true. Like stop following all these certain influencers and like start following people who are proficient in the vegan, cruelty-free makeup world and fashion world and like the food, and like there's so many people out there that we have access to that are a walking, living example that in any capacity, veganism has a healthy, vibrant life.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Anything you'd like to say to activists out there or just vegans who are trying to be more vocal but get so much backlash, so much hate, the same, trolls that come up, show up on all of our feeds?
Right.
I would say that your voice is so much stronger than you think it is.
Yeah.
And it's a matter of like, you can come up with these ideas, but pressing that record button and doing something. I mean, that is like the most important thing. You can hold a sign in the supermarket or right outside the supermarket. That's activism. Like there's no criteria for like what activism can be, but like we need to try to amplify our voices to the most extent, and that's why I started posting on social media and filming the activism that I was doing.
Yeah.
So get that support system together, talk amongst yourselves. What is like an action we could do on a Saturday? Maybe it's giving out some delicious vegan food and having those conversations.
Right.
Maybe it's standing at an AV cube with a TV screen. That's how I started.
Or decide to eat vegan with your family and be open to the discussion that might stir up. I mean, if it's truly in your heart and you're wondering if you should be more active and vocal with veganism, you should just do it. Just do it. The right people will come to you.
What helped me was looking at influencers like Joey Carbstrong and Earthling Ed online and watching their videos and their debates with students and people on the street. And you can even watch some of my videos. Hopefully they're helpful, where you start to learn how to respond to some of these excuses.
Yeah, that part is
because
scary sometimes.
The worst part is to be caught in a situation where everybody's ganging up on you and they're like asking you a million things and you don't know the answer. It's okay to say, hey, I don't know the answer to that. Let me get back to you.
Yeah.
It's okay to say that, you know? But I think that's what makes us flustered, and we kind of want to maintain a cool, calm, and collected approach and say, thanks so much for asking. Step into my office. I'd love to talk with you about this. And so knowing the facts and the information as an activist, you have to know it.
That's true. Get your little sound bites.
I read an hour a day, whether it's, a book that is about veganism or whether it's information online, or right now I'm looking into yoga philosophy, and that ties straight into ahimsa and it ties straight into veganism. And so seeing how I can maybe intertwine the two with the spirituality aspect of things.
So important.
Very important. Yeah. So like actually reading. Please read, people.
Or watch movies. Watch more documentaries and like
so many people have gone vegan watching, Cowspiracy or Dominion or Earthlings.
Seaspiracy. I was already vegan and it just like pushed me into activism. So people who are like, should I just watch everything that's out there? What are your gifts? What are you good at? And then fuse the two.
Love it.
The world needs more vegan activists, animal activists, know. And
animals are all we have.
Yeah.
I mean, we are all animals have, not the animals.
Animals are all we have. They are all we have. The animals are all
we
I
are
have.
all the animals have. Just speak up for them. So.
Yeah, there's so much space for it right now. Like if there was ever a time to go vegan, it's right now. There is a huge family out there. There is, if you're thinking about money, there is a career in it as well if you can figure that out.
I like to say the longer that you wait, the more animals are going to be hurt in your name. And so when I'm speaking to people on the street, I always leave them with this question: do you want to continue being part of the problem, or do you want to be a part of the solution?
Facts.
I'll leave you with that. I can't control where you're going to go to lunch or what you're going to do after this conversation. But what I can do is provide the information, and what you do with that information, that's on you.
That's on you.
Yeah.
100%. Just putting it on them. I love that. One guy you'd want to go vegan. One guy you wish was vegan.
My boyfriend.
Oh.
You have to pick a celebrity.
A celebrity? I'm going to say I wish Zac Efron would have stayed vegan, because he was vegan and he's gone through this whole like soul searching journey and bringing awareness to the masses about our water system, our, you know, the landfills, people who live longer, and the answer is always there in front of him. And it broke my heart when I found out that he decided to start eating animals again, and I was like, I was like, damn it, Zac Efron. I wish he was vegan, or I wish whoever our next president, I wish.
Yeah, I was gonna say somebody with like big influence and power.
Say a name.
She's like
a name.
She's like Zac Efron.
Because a lot of people went vegan when Zac Efron was vegan. A lot of people were like, oh my god, it's so popular, just like Joaquin Phoenix.
Well, I'm thinking like the Pope or like the Dalai Lama.
A guy you wish was
Zac
vegan.
Efron.
A guy
people
you date.
listen to Zac Efron.
That you potentially date.
I don't know if I want to date guys anymore.
Mic drop.
Just saying.
What happened?
She's like, I want to date cows. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to it. I just think for the next year, I'm very focused on myself.
So which woman would you want to go vegan right now?
I don't know if I want to date women either right now.
No, but whoever you want to go
just pick
vegan?
a guy
whoever
you want to convert.
I don't know why liver.
I also add Leonardo DiCaprio to that, because what the heck, man?
Yeah, I thought.
Yes, he's all about environmental issues, and I'm like, babe, I'm not 22, I'm 33, but like, go vegan, bro.
She's speaking to you, Leo.
Yeah.
Pick
I'm
one.
giving you time.
All right, I guess if I had to choose somebody, it would be Paul Saladino, because I see him as an ally. I think he would be really good on our side because he puts so much energy into promoting animal abuse. And so if he could only just channel a little bit of that into veganism, I would like to see that. But it's hard to pick one person.
Or Kanye West.
Oh, okay.
I'm thinking about people who like are like, whatever you do, whatever you wear, whatever you eat, wherever you go, you know. Celebrities. I need more celebrities to go vegan, period.
Yeah, because it is so unfortunate that our culture and our society, they just idolize celebrities and they do what they're told and to do by celebrities, and then they things that celebrities wear, they want to wear. It's absurd to me, but it is something that
it's just the reality.
Is the reality of it.
But if they went vegan, I want them to stay vegan, because like someone like Kim Kardashian is like, I'm vegan, and then she's not, and then she's like, I'm part-time vegan, and I'm like, dang it.
It really
don't use that word. It's like so delicate, you know. Like whoever has a big platform to go vegan, but stay vegan, because the moment someone who claims they're vegan decides to go back and
Miley Cyrus, right?
Miley Cyrus, girl, I wanted to love you, and then I was like, okay, I knew it.
We're gonna end with an animal rap. We're gonna end with a rap in general. You did that impromptu, so you can go again.
Yeah,
give me a word or a topic.
I mean, it's the animals, so it's a vegan podcast, so there you go.
Okay, I'm gonna go with "It's the Animals." You want to give me a beat,
right.
Jamie?
Yeah,
or you could jump.
Do you have a better word?
No, that works. That works.
I was gonna say something about like soy and boobs. I think it could be
of course
you were gonna say that.
Go for it.
Okay, I need a beat. It's the animals. It's the animals. It's the animals. It's the animals. I don't got beef, but I got beef with you. Why you want to tell me what you need to do? You don't need to eat dead bodies. You don't need to be... Okay, that's it. I'm done. No more energy.
That was so good. That was so good.
Do you want to see how bad I am?
Yeah.
Boom. What's my word?
Boom, boom, boom.
You can do soy and boobs and all of that.
Boom, cha, boom, 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 cha.
I was once told that soy gives you men boobs. I can prove that.
I put too much pressure on myself.
I told you, I'm more of a beatboxer.
You're the beat. She's actually really great with beats. But like, she's really great with beats. I don't eat the feets. Everybody knows that's how it goes. The world spins round, nut on the ground. Everybody knows what loss is found. I found my soul and I found my path, and I don't eat animals even if they eat grass. It's not cool. They so drool. They're crying and they don't get to go to school. I'ma school you though. Don't eat animals. It's so bad. Like a sheep. Bad. Like a creep. Fat. Sleep. Mad.
I love that.
Yeah,
we'll have you do beatboxing and her do the rap. I think I'm going to stick
It
to that.
was too much pressure.
All right, last question. Signature question.
Okay.
Because this is sustainability with Shreya. What does sustainability mean to you both?
Sustainability to me means taking a look at the current system and trying to improve it to use less resources and to create a future that our children and our children's children can, an earth that they can live on. That's what sustainability means to me. It's not about being perfect because simply existing, we're going to use resources, but it's about using less and taking less than we need and just being more conscious.
Yeah. Sustainability means, what that means to me is not exhausting what we have in every aspect. And it's like the planet is exhausted, the animals are exhausted, we are exhausted, and we need to just change the system because it's not sustainable. It's not going to continue the way it is. So it's just like reprogramming.
We can't sustain it at the rates that we are doing things.
Yeah. And like everything, your mental health, relationships, career. We have to remember there's a balance, and when it's off balance, it's not sustainable. And it's clear that we have been off course for a very long time, and it's a matter of time before it won't look pretty anymore.
This was so much fun.
Yes!
Thank you so much for doing this with me. I'm so glad we could make this happen. You all are hilarious. You'll already know that. And I wish I lived in New York and I was like a fly on the wall when you all did your podcast, especially the Vegan Sex one. I have to go back and watch that.
Yeah, you could watch our
Watch
podcast. Even though we're not taping at the moment, we have so many episodes about so many different topics with a bunch of different experts and vegan influencers. So you can always go and choose by the topic.
It's called
it's on YouTube.
Just So You Know.
Just So You Know.
How can we support your work?
Yeah, watch Just So You Know, comment, share it, because our work is the work of each other's. We're just trying to get the message across.
If you guys want to check out Jamie's Corner, you can follow me at It's Jamie's Corner. I also, if you go to itsjamiescorner.com, you can see my other podcast on there called Jamie's Corner, where I interview everybody from doctors to other activists to legislators and get them talking about what's happening with animal rights. We make it fun, entertaining. Also, my YouTube channel, I go and I do all sorts of activism, from on the street style interviews to disruptions to also like vlog style stuff. I'm going to start posting more of that, recipes. So check that out as well.
Yeah, you can follow me at Justina. And I'm just trying to figure out how to build a community of like-minded artists that want to take art and bring that message across when it comes to animal rights and the animal suffering.
You gotta
so
do
if you're
more
an
of that
artist,
rap.
reach out to me. Let's make a movie. Let's make a music video.
A whole album.
An album.
Yeah.
Whoa. I never thought I was a
I
rapper.
want to see you on Spotify. You can have a full band. I promise you that. But thank you for your work. Thank you for everything that you both do. And I started with Audacity. I'm going to continue. I'm going to end with that as well. Like, I hope you keep doing what you do and reaching the people that we need to reach. And on behalf of the animals, the planet, and everyone else, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for everything you do.
Every cage is empty.
Yes. That's what we fight for.
Yeah.
Yay. All right. Thank you.